Welcome back to She Leads the Line, the podcast where we talk with women who are leading the way in telecom, infrastructure, and broadband. I'm your host, Abby Crawford, and today I'm thrilled to be joined by Kim McKinley. Kim has spent over a decade shaping public broadband networks, building community trust, and now leads initiatives at TAK Broadband as Chief of Staff. Today, we're going to talk about her journey, her insights on public and private broadband, and the strategies she's used to connect infrastructure with communities. Kim, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Abby. I am very humbled and honored to talk about this and my past because I always like to say I'm just a simple girl from North Carolina, which most people are like, what? But that's how I feel in my heart. So being on any of these podcasts is very humbling.
Oh, yay. Well, I'm so happy to have you. Being from North Carolina myself, I feel like this is such an honor. How fun. So let's start at the very beginning. I want to hear, just tell me your story. Give us the scoop.
Yeah, no, this is everybody always asks me how I ended up in Utah as being a Southern girl. And I always like to say my ex-husband was in the Navy that moved me to Utah, which usually asks more questions, right? But we do have the Great Salt Lake. Just kidding. But it brought me to Utah over 15 years ago. And when I came here, I was in marketing and I was just looking for a job. And there was a job at a place called UTOPIA Fiber, and I applied for it. And I ultimately started my career as a marketing manager in 2010 at UTOPIA Fiber. And I think it's so funny that there's moments in your life that change you. And walking in for that interview changed the trajectory of my life forever. And I'm incredibly grateful for it. But I stayed there for 14 years. I rose up from the marketing manager to be the chief marketing officer and the deputy director at UTOPIA Fiber, in which I was over the marketing, the sales, the order fulfillment, the customer service, really the customer experience over at UTOPIA. I was very honored. And about a year ago, well, actually a year ago, probably right now, today, so congratulations on my anniversary, I moved over to TAK Broadband, we like to call it the largest construction company that nobody ever heard of. But I went over there when the CEO Trent Edwards came to me and said, "Do you want a job?" And really he was very passionate about what he was wanting to do, and it drove me away. And I'm super glad I did, because really right now that gives me a 360 view of how this industry really works. And it's been definitely an adventure for the past 15 years to get here.
That is so awesome. I love to ask this question because I feel like this is the case for a lot of people. Did you ever imagine yourself going into the telecom industry?
Okay, Abby, this is like you're hitting on a hot button in which I don't think anybody besides, and I'm going to say her name, and Nikki, don't kill me, Nikki Carnahan from TKI. I always say that she's the only person I've ever met that started out from college to go into telecommunications. Most of us kind of just end up here randomly, right? Yep. And I don't know if you've ever heard my theory of how we all end up in telecommunications, but here it is. Bad joke, by the way, is that if you go around, I was asking people one day, and everybody I met was in the band. And I was like, we don't have a workforce development problem. We just need to go to the band camps of 7th and 8th grade, because that's where we all are. Like, I didn't even know. But
what's so funny?
What is really funny, and I didn't know this until probably about 5 years ago. My mom once gave me, "Here's your childhood memories." I was like, "Thanks, Mom." And when she did that, I was looking through all these papers from my childhood, and there was a career assessment test I guess I did when I was in 6th grade. What's really funny about it, it said I would go into marketing and telecommunications.
Whoa.
Yeah. I don't even know what telecommunications was.
Right. Me neither.
What, probably 1988, 1990, who knows when it was, but it was crazy. It was really interesting that she kept that piece of paper and that I found it a few years ago. I was like, well, I guess those things are actually accurate to some degree.
That is probably one of the craziest things I've ever heard, because what the heck? That is so niche.
Yeah. so niche. And I mean, what was I thinking? That I was going to like do phone systems? I don't know what
Right,
that meant.
right. Because back then, what was it that, right? Wow.
Mhm. Really
That's really cool.
fascinating. Yeah.
Okay. So speaking of marketing, along the way,
Mhm.
that is no small feat to market it municipal broadband.
Yeah.
Impressive. How did you approach making Utopia relatable and understandable to the community?
So I don't know if you guys know the Utopia story, right? Utopia started in 2003, 2004-ish, and it's actually an open access network. So they're just providing the pipe and kind of like the airport that all the carriers can ride on it. So Utopia really just provides the pipe. So just think about we're marketing infrastructure, which even makes it even less sexy. But Utopia's history is that they had some dark times. And I always used to
Mhm.
like to say that Utopia's turnaround started in 2010 when I started. No coincidence. But the thing about municipal broadband, and I think this is not about municipal broadband. I think this is about anything. As a Southerner girl, you would know this, Abby, just as well as I do. It's about just being honest and being transparent.
Mhm.
And when I started in marketing there, I used to say, why are we telling them what we think they want to hear? Why don't
Mhm.
we tell them the truth?
Mhm.
And it's not about telling, I think this is a change that we've seen pretty dramatically over the past 15 years, is that people used to tell them like, you want this, you need this. And I'm like, why aren't we honest? Because
Right.
at the end of the day, we want honesty, we want transparency. That builds trust, that builds loyalty, that builds customers forever. Right. So when I went to
100%.
Utopia, people weren't super happy with what had happened over the past like 7, 8 years since it had started. And I
Sure.
remember one of the first marketing pieces I did, and it's still, I probably have it somewhere in a box around here. And it said, we had a bad first date. Can we try again? And what it acknowledged was we made mistakes. We
Right.
had effed up. Let's build your trust and go back.
Yeah.
And this is what people say to me all the time. They're like, "Oh, we do marketing, but it doesn't work." Marketing doesn't work overnight. It's
Right.
a on top of it, it's building. So it's kind of
Woo!
that whole, yeah, the
Yes.
whole phrase that people will say. It's like, oh, it's an overnight success, 15 years in the making. And I think
Mm.
that's what Utopia is and still is today. It's you take one level, you build upon it, you build, and it
Mhm.
takes years to build that trust. So
Yep.
I would say anybody who's watching who might be in marketing, it's not an overnight. It's a constant slog of doing it day in, day out. And then one day you're just gonna look back and go, holy crap, how far have I come?
Yeah.
And
Oh, it's
that's yeah,
working. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's what marketing is about. That's what marketing any broadband is about.
Yeah.
It's I say this all the time. Nobody gives a rat's patootie on broadband as much as we do.
Right.
So
Right.
you have to
You
show them
have
a
to make
difference.
them. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. That's what I always say to people because, of course, I'm in marketing and I
yeah,
say, I'm like, you're not, to my clients, I'm like, you're not selling your product. You are solving a problem for these
yeah.
people. They don't care about the product that you're selling. They care about the fact that you can either solve their problem or you can't. So you need to show them how you're doing that. Tell your story,
Absolutely.
build that trust. Yeah, I could not agree more with anything.
I'll say this, and they want to be seen.
Yes.
Consumers want to be seen in this
Yeah,
industry more than ever because
for
for
sure.
so many years there's a lot of telecommunications companies who treated consumers we needed them more than they needed us, right?
Yeah.
And I said, when you change that paradigm, you're going to get customers and you're going to get loyal customers because you're
Yeah.
actually listening and hearing them.
Yeah, 100%. Trust and relationships in this industry, everything. Everything. So
Exactly. Exactly.
I want to kind of dig in a little bit more.
Mhm.
You had
Go for
a
it.
long career with Utopia. You made the
Mhm.
move to TAK Broadband. I would love to
Mhm.
hear you touched on it briefly. What drew you to TAK and what excites you most about your role there?
I think it's crucial. I would say When I moved over to TAK, I didn't know I was going to leave Utopia. And I would
Yeah.
say, and Trent might kill me for saying some of this, so I hope he doesn't watch it. But I think he
Blocked.
was the main, yeah, he was the main reason. I remember sitting down with him when he kind of said, "Why don't we talk about a job?" And I flew to Boulder, and I sat down with him, and the honesty and vulnerability and transparency that he had of what he wanted to do and what his vision
Hmm.
was when I was like, okay, I want to work for somebody who believes and works this way and
Yeah.
inspires me. And to be honest, I think that Utopia is in a great spot, but I'm a girl who likes a good challenge. And
Yeah.
when I took it Utopia from, where it was to where it is and its huge trajectory, and I think that it's like, okay, I was sitting in my office and I was managing people and not managing solutions and managing this.
Mm.
And I was in my heart, I was a little bored, right?
Hmm.
Because I'm a good girl who likes to fight. I'm the girl who wants to change. I'm the girl who wants to operationalize something. So when this challenge came in with all this bead money to go to the construction side and side, I didn't know a side that scared the living bejesus out of me. It was like, can I sit in the comfortability of where I am and probably stay here for the next 20 years and make good money in with nice people, or do I want to challenge myself and put myself in a way in a place where it's going to humble me. It's going to take me to my core. I'm a girl who likes to jump and say, okay, well, this is our one life. We got one of these. Why not
Hmm.
take the risk and see what it's like?
So cool. That is leadership right there. What you just said embodies leadership, just willing to be brave and challenge yourself and be willing to fail. You were fully ready to just dive into whatever that was. That's so cool.
I think like and I'll be honest, right? I just ran for the Fiber Broadband Association board, and I lost this yesterday or 2 days ago.
Okay.
And I think, and I posted something on LinkedIn about the Teddy Roosevelt quote about staying in the arena when it's hard,
Yeah.
right? And I think that we forget that when we're on the peripheral top of where people think we are, that it's easy, but we all fail. And I
Yeah.
think it's important to say that we all fail, but the risk is always worth it. I think I have, and this is so cliche, and I'm giving you all the cliche terms,
Give it
but
to me. I love it.
failure challenges you and brings you to another level that more than success does. And
Hmm.
I think that we forget that. And we're so afraid. For so many years, I sat back on the sidelines being afraid because what if I'm not good enough? What if
Yeah.
I'm too awkward? What if I'm different? Which I'm all of those things. So don't get me wrong. But that is power. And
Yeah.
I'm a talker, but I'm going to give you one more phrase that my therapist gave me. And
I love it.
my therapist actually quit being a therapist because he said I inspired him to go change a job after 8 years. And I was like, we don't break up. um, But anyway, I the first time I was going to speak on stage, this was in 2018. I went into my therapist's office and I was anxiety ridden, and I didn't
Mm.
know. I was like, his name is Jacob. Jacob, I don't say the right things. I don't wear the right clothes. I stumble on my words. I'm all over the place sometimes.
Mm.
And he looked at me straight in the eye and he said, and that's what will make you relatable.
Hmm.
And he said, have you ever been to a conference where you've sat on the couch or sat in your chair and watched this person who has a perfect PowerPoint presentation, the perfect outfit, doesn't stumble on their words, and have you been bored out of your mind? And I
Okay.
said, yeah. I said, you want the people who look and feel like you.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I like to do is encourage all of us awkward, different people to go out there because I actually think it's been one of my biggest qualities, um, to be a little bit different in a world that's trying to all be the same.
Yeah. I think that that is 100% your superpower because you're vulnerable, that also creates just an automatic trust. Like you're very easy to talk to. That is 100% a superpower. And that, I mean, that brings me right into what I was going to ask you next. Is I was going to ask you, what challenges have you faced and how do you navigate them? And I mean, it sounds like you treat them as kind of like as just a stepping stone.
I've always treated it like a stepping stone, right? I think it's so funny. It's I've been attacked, I've been talked about, I've been told all the things, right? And I've been told that I shouldn't be in this industry, and it's hurt me. The other day, I
Mhm.
cried because I was like, I didn't do anything to these people, and people are attacking, and it
Mhm.
hurts, right? And I think
Mhm.
the challenges we will have is that people are going to tell you, especially women in this industry, that you're not good enough. You won't get the
Mhm.
immediate trust as walking in. You won't.
Mhm.
And I mean, Abby, I'm not going to say this to offensive either of us, but as a marketer, you're going to be told you'll be discounted because you're not an engineer or you're not a technical person, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, you got to stay in the room when it's uncomfortable. You've got to have the conversations. You've got to build the trust.
Mhm.
And there is challenges. There's challenges every day that we experience, but it's about. I think there are a lot of challenges about getting attacked and all of these things, and but it's all about getting back up,
Yeah.
waking up the next day. And as a good southern girl myself, is I'm a little tad bit southern or tad bit stubborn, and I said, "Mm, let's get back up and show them who we are,
Yeah.
show them what I'm made of. Like, it's taking the hits, crying it out, going for whatever you do to relieve stress, right? And then getting back up the next day and fighting another day to be like,
Mhm.
I believe in me more than anybody else believes in me."
Yeah. I love that. Let it fuel your fire.
Absolutely.
I love that. I want to stay on the topic for a little while longer of marketing and broadband. It is very technical and abstract, and you have done a great job of making it relatable. I think that just also
Mhm.
too comes with your personality. How do you make broadband feel human and approachable to everyday people?
So I used to, when I was at Utopia, one of my favorite ads that I did, and I was sitting in there and they were like, we should do this, the ad agency we use, we should do that. And I said, guys, let's make broadband what we are every day. I was like,
Mm.
why don't we make it about us filming like the Arlo cameras or whatever we have in our house, filming us like running down the stairs and falling or whatnot, or running down the stairs in our skivvies, right? Because that's relatable.
Yeah,
That's our everyday life. Why
right.
don't we make it fun? One of the best ads that I ever did was Amazon lockers that we had ads on that were like making fun of the crap you purchase off Amazon. That's funny. Like whatever, the stuffed llama that you bought when you were awake at
Yeah.
3 a.m. that you totally different need. Why don't you like, let's stop. Like I always used to say, if I see somebody with 15 people on a couch behind an iPad, just shoot me, right? Because
Right.
that's not relatable. Let's make
Right.
broadband relatable to what we experience every day, which
Yeah.
is buying crap on Amazon we don't need. And then you
Right.
you open the box and you're like, wow. Because we all know the stories of the guy who bought the sword when he was drunk online one time, right? In the middle of the night, and he got it the next day. And I'll say this, one of my good friends, Scott Menhart, who used to, I think he just left TCLBP Fiber in Traverse, Michigan. One time I was out at a conference with him, and the next day he woke up and he was like, Kim, I had too much to drink last night. And I bought an iron and an ironing board. And I go, why? And he goes, I don't know because I don't iron. And I was like, that's what broadband enables, right? That's the things that we all relate to. It's
Yeah.
not the 15 people behind the happy
Right.
iPad, because a
Right.
realistic version would be 15 iPads sitting on a couch, all looking at something different. I think that
Right.
we're not talking to consumers. We're talking to what we think consumers want.
Yeah.
I think that's the big miss in this industry. It's like, yet again, nobody cares about broadband as much as we care about broadband. So make it simple. Why is it buffering? Well, you have crappy broadband.
Yep.
Why? Like, I don't know. I don't know if it's me, but I don't know why we make this so complicated.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I literally and I sometimes I hit myself for saying it like this, but like I almost like dumb it down. Like you don't need to be so technical and shit and put all of that fancy jargon that they all like to use in there. You can just have a real world scenario. And also, when people, they don't know about broadband or care about broadband until it's not working, until they don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
Absolutely.
so put that in front of them. Make them realize that when they don't, boom, there's your problem. Oh, we have a solution. Like, people love when you can solve their problems. So that's more, just make it simple. It's simple.
It's so true. It's so true. Like people are gonna go, well, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I do broadband. Some of my friends, a lot of my friends still have no idea what I do
Yeah, me too.
because I say like you don't care because you get it, right? It's
Yeah.
the rural
Yeah.
places that are sitting with nothing understand. And I said, nobody understands we have a broadband crisis in this country because you're sitting behind a computer where it works.
Yep.
And that is the difference of, yeah, but it is dumbing it down for people though. I would totally agree with you, Abby. Totally agree.
Yeah, that's really what it is. So, looking ahead in broadband, it is evolving so quickly with new funding, public and private partnerships, new technologies. I would love to know what trends you are watching closely.
I would say it's going to be the mergers and acquisitions that we're going to see more than ever in the next few years, right? We're already seeing it. We're seeing the big companies buying out. You have the Verizon Frontier, you have all of this, right? I think you're going to
Hmm.
see a lot of consolidation happening, and I think that's no surprise to anyone. I also think that this is a hard one because where do I think it's going to be? I don't think it's going to be as far along as most people think. I think
Yeah.
that we're going to increase speeds, but I
Hmm.
think that we're going to have problems because I don't think there's applications to deal with the speeds. This goes back to your point just now. Why do people need a gig? Like people are getting a gig. I live alone. I have a gig at my house. I know what
Hmm.
that enables, but I don't need a gig. Like it's almost like I'm in the industry, so I feel like I need to
You need
have it.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So I think it's really letting some of the technology catch up to the broadband is what we're going to see. But I think in the next few years, it's going to be really interesting to see who is acquired. I think T-Mobile is
Hmm.
making a big play. I think you
Yeah.
could see a combination of mobile phones, which are and broadband, and it's really interesting because we decoupled all this stuff in the airline
Hmm.
industry. You pay for your luggage. In the
Yeah.
broadband or in the TV industry, we've gone to streaming, and now it's
Hmm.
like it's interesting. We're seeing it almost getting coupled back up with the
Yeah.
broadband industry in the mobile phone. So how does that play out? Are the consumers happy with that or they're not? I will say this, and I remember it vividly, and I'm dropping all these names, so hopefully they don't watch. Warren Warren Woodward, like Warren from X Mission, I can't say his last name. He, who's an ISP here in Utah, wrote a tweet when it was Twitter, not X back in the day, and he said, "Look what happened to the airline industry when we decoupled everything. That's going to happen in the
Hmm.
broadband industry." And now you're seeing like airlines come and say, "We're including your luggage again." And now is that
Yeah.
going to happen in the broadband industry? I don't know, but it's I'm here to watch it.
That's an interesting take. I've not yet heard that. So I'm intrigued to watch that kind of play out too.
Yeah, just like Abby, give me a call if you want any hot takes that don't make any sense, because that's what I'm really known for.
I love it. I love it. No, I feel like a lot of the time, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to start a podcast, is I
Mhm.
feel like a lot of things that not even just in this industry, but people stay just like everyone does the same thing, very cookie cutter, and
Mhm.
it's like, let's be real. Let's have a real conversation. Give me the hot takes. Give me your life advice. I want to hear it. I think that's all important.
Yeah, no, I think that's the thing. And it's so funny when I started speaking on stage, people were like, "I like you because you say it," and I was like, "I don't know what I'm saying that's so different than everybody else." I'm still like, it's just me. I because everybody's in these corporate talking, like there's talking points,
Yeah.
and I'm not a well, I can like that's why these big guys don't want me, because you imagine me trying to stay with talking points. But uh, okay, but were you asking me for my life advice? What do you want, Abby? What do you want?
I mean, yeah, I would love to hear, I would love to hear a leadership lesson that you learned in life, not in business?
Okay, this is kind of in business, but kind of in life. But I
Okay.
think that here's another name drop is Jessica Tuatonga, who used to be my head of customer service at when I was at Utopia. One day humbled me to my core because I said something to her and I don't remember what it was, but it was something about how they could do something better. And she looked
Mm,
at me straight in the eyes and she said, "Why do you only tell us why you can do things what we're doing wrong and not what we're doing right?"
mm,
And it made me sit back and go, I'm super incredibly proud of her. I was super incredibly proud of what she had done.
mm,
And I told other people, but what I didn't do is tell her, right?
mm,
And it's telling people when they make a difference in your life,
mhm.
because we're used to criticizing people. We're used to telling people what they're doing wrong, but we forget in life, and this is personal and professional, of what they're doing right, because
Mhm.
that makes a difference, right?
Yeah.
If I heard what I was doing wrong every day, all day, it
Mhm.
demoralizes me, right?
Yeah.
That's the difference. We
Right.
have to inspire people in our private life and our public life. My
Mhm.
dad is a guy who's like, I'm at the grocery store and I tell the people, you did an incredible job today. Thank you. And he's
Yeah.
like, to watch the smile on their faces is just, he's like, it makes my day because
Mhm.
that small little compliment might have changed the trajectory of somebody having a bad day. I
Yeah.
would say the second piece of advice, and this is how I used to start off staff calls. I would say, I would ask them a question to learn more about them. Like what's your goal? I was like, what makes you sad today? What makes you happy? What are you looking forward? Because and what was really powerful about those moments is when you went around the room and the first person showed vulnerability, the next person showed vulnerability, then
Mm.
the next. And then they started seeing each other. And then they started working together better because they
Yeah.
see each other. They don't
Yeah.
look at them as a like a coworker I'm about to tackle. They see that everybody struggles, everybody
Mhm.
wins, and if we all do it together, then together we can. Like together we can is one of my catchphrases because we can. It's not
Yeah,
about tearing people down, it's about lifting people up. So
for sure.
Jessica's kind of like a daughter to me, and I will always be thankful for that. And I will say this is how that changes, and she might kill me too by saying this. But the other day, she used to sit on these calls when I was on calls, and she would text me and she's like, "Can you speak up?" And I said, "Why aren't you speaking up?" And she was like, "I'm afraid."
Mm.
And I I used to sit in there and I one of the phrases I used to say is I would yell at her, and I remember crying in the office with her going, "I believe in you more than you believe in you, and this is going to change." And so the other day I got a text out of nowhere from her that said, "Kim, I'm going to be speaking." They offered me a speaking slot at Fiber Connect in Orlando this year. And she had put herself out there. And at that moment, I might even tear up now, I was so incredibly proud of this lady and what she accomplished because not even 5 years ago, she wouldn't even speak up on a call.
Meeting, yeah.
And now she's willing to put herself out there in front of people. That's what leadership is about. that
Yes.
that's what inspires me. I got goosebumps even saying this because
Yeah.
that changes careers. So
Yes.
starting off and believing in people and raising them up, she's the one
Mhm.
who told me that back in the day, and now to see her doing this and she's like so happy and proud and scared, and I that's my life advice if anything.
It's so funny the power of vulnerability. That's what
Mhm,
I took out of that because just as you were talking, I just thought of other instances where either vulnerability was there and it made it better, or in instances where it could have been there and could have made the situation better. And it's just
mhm,
like you said earlier, like we get one life. Why
mhm,
not be vulnerable, be brave, and just be real?
mhm.
It's okay to feel. I think a lot of people try to stay so like corporate and, you know, cookie cutter, which is, that's okay, but I think that there's a lot of opportunity in just being, yeah, being real. And commend you for that, because I definitely look up to you in that aspect. You're so real. Everything I ever see from you, I mean, I've met you one time very briefly, but
Yeah.
everything that I see of you when I met you matched what I've seen on LinkedIn and watching different podcasts and conferences and like,
Me and Bob's, yeah, like
yeah,
antics
I
on
mean,
LinkedIn. Yeah.
yes, you are the same everywhere, and that is, yeah, that's a superpower. So,
That that is, I think somebody said that to me the other day is, I was talking to one of my friends in the industry, and I used to say, she goes, I wear heels sometimes, and I said I used to wear heels because I wanted people to not be able to deny me when I walked in a room,
mhm.
going back to sometimes the will. And I'm 5'11", so me and heels, I'm like a walking giant. And and she said to me that she goes, Kim, you could be 4'7" and walk into a room and stop it, because she's like, what impresses me about you is that every place you walk, wherever you walk, you're the same person. And I was like, I never thought of it that way, but I was like, why aren't we all?
Mhm.
Well, why aren't we all? I
Yeah.
We should be.
Yeah.
So thank you, Abby, for that compliment, because that I try to be myself
Yeah.
very much in what I do. And like, I'll go back, and a lot of people don't know my history, but I used to be the most anxious, like trying to fit in, do all the right things. And I like, the reason I walked into my therapist's office that day was because I was like, I don't like myself. And
Mhm.
what I found out is I wasn't being true to me. So
Yeah.
I think I went to the place of, when I was a kid, I used to wear candy. When I was in college, I used to wear candy necklaces and Birkenstocks. And that was who I was. And then somewhere in the early 20s to my late 30s, I tried to fit into this box. And all
Mhm.
it did was drive me into being anxiety ridden and
Yeah.
a train wreck.
Yeah.
And so those kind of compliments are what I live for, not accolades or board positions or whatever money. It's more of that, how do we make an impact on other people's lives?
I love that. Before we wrap up, I would love to hear what you want your legacy to be in this industry as a leader. Just as Kim, what do you want your
If you
legacy
look
to be?
down as I'm thinking about that, I think my legacy is that the band geeks or the people who weren't seen or whatever feel like they have a place in this industry, and they do.
Mm-hmm.
They absolutely do that. And I want to see people rise up. I want to see the power of people who might be a little awkward and are going
Mm-hmm.
to speak their mind and be nice and be authentic and not worry about losing, because maybe money wins this time. Maybe like that people will try to tear you down. But to get up and just be yourself and never lose who you are. If I can make anybody in this industry, any girl, any male, anybody feel that, I will die a happy lady. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what's going to change this world.
Yeah.
And that's what I want my legacy to be, is for other people who felt like they never fit in to find a place in this industry and to make their careers happen, because this industry has given me
Mm-hmm.
so much that I will always forever be grateful. And if I can do that for others, that's all I need in my life.
I love that. Kim, this has been so wonderful, so inspiring. I literally don't want to have the conversation end because you're so great. Thank you for taking the time to share all of your insights and experience and expertise, honestly. And to our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to She Leads the Line. We will be back next week with another inspiring story from women that are leading in telecom and infrastructure. Until next time, thank you so much, Kim. Keep leading the line.
Thank you so much, guys.